Ronan Keating, life is a roller coaster. It indeed is. And I've said this on the Facebook Live that we're about to do. The most respected man in real estate. Anuj Puri, chairman of Anarock, is here. And it's going to be an engaging hour of discussion. We're streaming live audio across the nation on www.onecast.in. That's numeral 1cast.in. Streaming live video only if you're not driving, only if you're in the back seat of a radio taxi or being chauffeur driven or at office or at home without a radio set. We're streaming video live on facebook.com/radio1.mum, radio1.mum, and of course on your radio sets in Mumbai City, it's 94.3 on the FM band.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh. Radio 1.
I'm so happy to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Delighted to be here, Hrishi.
And as usual, I was doing some essential reading and I opened the Anarock website, and everybody who's anybody in real estate has such wonderful things to say about you. You're a man who's surrounded by positive energy. and I'm pleased to see that positive energy is really working. Anarock is doing so well. Yeah. Wonderful.
No, delighted. Very, very happy with the outcome over the last 1 year of having set up Anarock. I think there was a gap in the industry where you did not have institutional residential brokerage houses which were enabled by tech. You had very large commercial institutional houses, lots of multinationals in that side. But really there was nobody who was going to be able to give credible advice, transparency, with value that you could bring to a prospective home buyer. And that's the gap that we saw, and we went in for that.
And online is doing well?
Yeah? Online is doing very well, Hrishi. I think, the generation which is now getting into buying homes, it just completely changed. I mean, I'm just surprised with the prospective buyers' way of buying today in comparison, not 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. It was so very different to what it is today. It is completely online. I mean, 80% of the inquiries come in from online. And it's not that offline is not important. Online doesn't work, Hrishi, and you'll be delighted to hear this statement. Online doesn't work if there is not enough presence on offline. And two channels work very well on offline: radio and newspaper.
Lovely. Because I follow anujpuri.com very closely, and I follow you on Twitter also. It's a very interesting article you wrote saying, online keeps taking you till perhaps the last stage, and then, it goes into a touch and feel experience. There's no substitute to actually getting out there and have a meeting and for the buyer and seller to interact, And in that aspect, you play a guardian angel to facilitate that, So I'm glad that will always be there.
Yes.
Thank heavens. Okay, let's talk about various aspects of what's been happening in real estate. It's been an eventful year in some. The 2018 Industrial Area Policy has been announced, a slew of incentives to attract private players. The idea obviously is to help them develop small parcels of land under the Integrated Industrial Area Policy. So your thoughts on that first and foremost?
So really it is Prime Minister's dream to say is that we want to make in India. And to sponsor that and to support that, this is the policy that has come in to say is that we're going to be able to provide smaller land parcels to do industrial activity. Previously it was large industrialists or multinationals who would be able to go out and get in from MIDC large parcels of land, or be able to go and get in a very large parcel of agricultural land and then get them converted into industrial. Clearly the government discovered that if there is a small mid-size entrepreneur who wants to get into manufacturing, land is becoming extremely difficult for them to go out and acquire. This policy is going to help them with ease of acquisition of that land parcel, and they don't have to really worry to go to farmers, acquire the land, get the agricultural use change into industrial. In the integrated policy for the small and mid-size entrepreneurs who wish to set up manufacturing, this is like an automatic route for them to be able to do. So it dovetails well with the Prime Minister's dream, Make in India, ease of doing business in India, and they discovered that land acquisition on the manufacturing for small, medium-sized enterprise was a big problem, and that's what they've tried to address with this policy.
So it's nice because it's a 50% stamp duty relaxation. There's also, the state government is saying they're going to allow the private player to retain 80% of the total area and 20% for other purpose. Earlier on, I've given to understand it was 60 and 40.
That's right. Yeah? Yes, absolutely.
So that's interesting. Also, the fact that on your Twitter feed, the fact that Nirmal and Shapoorji Palanji have signed a deal to develop 2 residential projects in Mulund, and you've been saying for a while now that this is the way forward. Yeah?
Absolutely, Hrishi. And, I can tell you across India, we're seeing this. There have been several tsunamis that have hit the real estate sector. It started with the demonetization and then went on to Real Estate Regulation Act, RERA. Last time we discussed on your show a little bit about RERA. It had just come in. And then GST. What we are finding is there are a number of developers who had been in the business for the last 20-25 years are not being able to understand and appreciate how to go about given these 3 quick tsunamis. But there is a solution. So the solution is that they are going to more credible developers and saying is, can we either partner you on our land holdings? Can we either do a development management on your land holdings? We understand that Mr. Large Developer or more credible developer, you're not going to pay us for the land. But can we do an arrangement whereby you do the construction, you do the development, and as and when the revenues come in through the sales, we just divide the proceeds. And that is what is happening. Interestingly, you're finding a number of new developers coming into play. Some of the old developers are getting consolidated and they are tying up with more credible developers, but there are a number of new developers who've started to come in. For example, Birlas have come in. I mean, they were not in real estate. Hero Group in North has come into real estate. So it is interesting that there is a bit of a churn that is happening.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but as a Tambram and a South Indian, they say if TVS gets into anything, you know how the South Indian philosophy is, it will turn to gold. And I believe TVS wants
and
to
TVS
get
has gone in. Absolutely, absolutely. So you've got in North Hero, in West, Birlas who've come in, and TVS in South.
Wonderful. Owner of a Lonely Heart, yes, back in a couple of minutes with Anuj Puri, he's chairman at Anarock. This is fabulous, 9:16. Yes, owner of a Lonely Heart, 9:20. Anuj Puri, chairman of Anarock, is here. A wonderful discussion, real estate, property, the year gone by 2017, forecast for the year 2018. Only if you're not driving. We're streaming video live now on Twitter and Periscope at HRISHIKAY. We've tagged Anarock. We've tagged at the Anuj Puri, which is his Twitter handle. And, you can catch us live on video and post that. The video will be on, so you can tell your friends and family about it. Still streaming audio live across the nation, www.onecast.in. And, of course, 94.3 on your radio sets here in Mumbai City. Monchat.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So I'm a little confused and you have to clear this confusion. So, everybody is turning around and saying, oh my God, the luxury housing market in India is yet to pull itself up out of the doldrums. Do people have the appetite anymore? And all of a sudden, there's a ticker in the news saying Trump Towers in Gurgaon. This time in the millennial city of Gurgaon. The market is sitting up and taking notice. We're talking 47-story towers. They're going to put 250 exclusive units in the market. And I believe, there's, of course, Mumbai we know about. There's already Chennai and Hyderabad and all these things. So why the dichotomy? So what's really happening in that luxury segment?
So I'll divide it into 2 parts. One is really what is the government doing for the luxury premium, and the second is what is really the market doing it. The first part, government has no love lost for luxury. They have huge love for affordable housing. Every year in the budget speech we've seen is there's been a lot of SOPs given to affordable housing, zero given to luxury and premium. And really premium and luxury at this point in time is struggling in there. As far as the private part, you were to look at it, there is a lot of supply that came in 4 years ago on the luxury and premium. In the last 4 years, there has been very little new supply that has come in. In these 4 years, the demand has been more than the new supply, which means is that the unsold inventory in the premium and the luxury has been following quarter on quarter for the last 7 quarters. Clearly, that has prompted the developers to start to think that maybe it is time now to go back into premium and luxury, because these apartments are not going to be built tomorrow morning. If you start premium luxury today, it's 4 years from today. In the last 4 years, if your demand has been greater than the supply and your unsold inventory has been coming down, then perhaps it is time to be able to think that let's start to deliver, more luxury, more premium. Now, the mistake is going to be is that if there is a huge rush that gets into again luxury and premium, for example, Hrishi, where we are sitting in Lower Parel, here, 5 square kilometers of this area, we have 1 lakh crore worth of residential premium luxury inventory. 1 lakh crore is nearly $15 billion US dollars.
Wow.
It could have absorbed, but all of it came at the same time.
Yep.
And my fear is that as the market on luxury and premium is coming out of its sort of prolonged recession, it should not happen that we have a big rush of developers again starting premium luxury. There is going to be a demand, but the demand is going to be just a sliver. And so some of them will continue to do well, but the majority of the demand continues to remain in the affordable, in 1 bedroom, 1.5 bedroom, 2 bedroom, in cities like Mumbai, below say 1.25 crores. In other cities like Pune or some of the tier 2 cities, about 60 lakhs. So I would say is that yes, it is starting to pick up luxury premium just because there was nothing that got newly built in the last 4 years. But my fear is that as we have in real estate, we have a herd mentality. I hope that this time we do not get that herd mentality on again starting to build premium luxury. The demand is there, but very small. The majority of the demand continues to remain in the affordable housing segment.
Now let's come to that affordable housing segment. I mean, there's no discounting the fact that the Prime Minister has been making grandiose announcements about providing a home for every Indian by 2022. The other end of the spectrum, Indian banks have been channeling increasing amounts of credit to affordable housing. Okay. And does this whole thing about the bad loan pile worry you? You say, it's par for the course. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Not at all, Hrishi. Amongst the various sectors that you were to look where the bank lends, this is the least risky as far as the home loans is concerned. I mean, if you were to ask me the data, it is less than 1% where there has been a default in home loans. I think it is just emotional. It has nothing to do with the real estate developer community. It is just with the home buyer. It is sentimental, it's emotional, it's reputational, that they would not want to default on their home loan and discover that the house got repossessed by the bank. I mean, there will be very little standing in the society, in the neighborhood. Both the husband and wife will miss a meal to save money, but not miss an installment. So I do not fear that there is any issue as far as the home loan is concerned. That default rate will remain very low, unlike the US or unlike the UK or unlike more mature markets where it doesn't matter. I mean, after Lehman crisis, we had a huge amount of fallout on the home loans. I dare say in India that is going to happen just purely because the way that we as a society are built, we are very proud not to be known that we defaulted on our house installment.
You have any questions for Anuj Puri or any comments, please feel free. Let them flow. One space your comment and name to 53650. 53650 is the in-studio SMS line. On Twitter as well as Facebook, you go to the search bar, you type HRISHIKAY, it will pop up. You could tweet out your question or comment or post on the timeline inbox on Facebook and facebook.com/radio1.mum, our official page. There again, drop the comment or the question on the timeline or inbox along with your name and I'll bring it up on the show. Bruno Mars, 24K Magic, back in a couple of minutes with the chairman of Anarock. The police, every little thing she does is magic. Sting on lead vocals. Anuj Puri, chairman of Anarock, is in studio. It's an hour of real estate property discussion, all aspects. We're streaming live audio across the nation on www.onecast.in, numeral 1cast.in. Video now on Instagram at HRISHIKAY. And of course, on your radio sets, 94.3 Radio 1 on the FM band. More chat.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
So, are the private equity firms excited about affordable housing? So, have there been substantial inflows since all these announcements as far as PE is concerned?
Certainly, there has been a fair amount of activity from the private equity. I think private equity was largely looking at the offices. These were completed offices leased out, and they were looking at buying sort of a more income-yielding real estate space through the offices. But they've now started to look very seriously, and there are a number of them who've invested, including the HDFC fund, who have gone specifically into affordable housing and saying is that this is a great sector to be in. We're not going to only come in as a debt provider. We will come in as an equity partner. And they've gone ahead with many developers saying is let's go ahead and buy land together and then build affordable housing in its true sense, affordable housing, which is like, in metropolitan cities, 30 square meters, which is about 350 square feet. Of an apartment, and in tier 2 cities it's about 60 square meters, about 660 square feet of an apartment. So they've certainly started to do that, and we're getting a lot of inquiries from other international private equity players to say is we think this is a great asset to be in if we can partner the right developer who has the right mindset and who's actually going to be investing this money on delivery of affordable housing. We feel there's a infinite demand from the Indian public to buy these apartments.
There's an article on anujpuri.com, and allow me to quote that. And everybody keeps asking you, what is 2018 going to be like? What is your forecast and this and that? And I've been seeing numerous videos across television channels, private YouTube channels. But this is a very wonderful thing that you've written. 2018 is a year of consolidation for smaller players in the real estate industry market. You briefly mentioned that at the top of this interview. Whenever there is consolidation in any sector, the general perception is that everything is going down the drain. However, the reality is, and I'll allow you to complete that, it's not such a bad word.
Not at all. Rishi, it had to be. It had to be. Otherwise, you would recall when we were growing up, in all the Bollywood films, the villain was the real estate developer. It has to change at some time. Real estate has to be a hero. And the only way that we would have moved from villain to becoming a hero was that it had to consolidate. There were a lot of fly-by-night operators, particularly you go into places like Noida. These were like, I was surprised, brokers turned developers, bureaucrat-sponsored developers, those who did not have any technical understanding, who didn't have any competency, but they were getting in to real estate development, and that is where the bad name had started to come in. Those had to get consolidated, those had to get wiped off, and hopefully one day we'll move from being a villain to being a hero.
Now, GST for small home buyers has gone down. The GST Council put out various slabs.
Yes.
Do you remember off the top of your head
yes,
what those slabs are?
Yeah. Absolutely. So what they have done is they've said is for premium luxury, we have no love lost. So we will continue to charge you 12%. In affordable housing, they've actually brought it down to 8%. Now, 12% and 8%, but in addition to that, you also get the input credit, which means is that the developer who's taking the input credit has to pass that input credit to you. Invariably, that comes to 3 to 4%. So it's actually 12 minus 4%, and then it's 8 minus 4%. 8 is for the affordable housing, and 12 is for anything which is other than affordable housing.
Okay, we're going to come back right after this song, A Green Day Basket Case, and talk about rental. I imagine a quarter of India's population is living in informal housing. So where does that stand? Who better to ask than Anuj Puri, Chairman Anarock. See you in a couple of minutes. Green Day Basket Case, streaming live audio online across the nation on www.onecast.in. That's numeral1csc.in. Now, streaming video live, statutory warning only if you're not driving. On Facebook at HRISHIKAY. That's facebook.com/HRISHIKAY. Chairman of Anarock, Anuj Puri, is here, and we continue streaming on radio sets 94.3 on the FM band. More conversation.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Now, as far as rental is concerned, we've got to understand that India has an increasingly fluid population, and we've seen entire cities. Look at Hyderabad, look at Bangalore. These are markets obviously that excite you, because there's so much of job creation that's happening. How's rental doing in all parts of the country?
So, Rishi, really for a developer, a builder, it doesn't make sense to build a tower and then lease it out. And I'll tell you why it is not making sense. Because the return that the developer gets is really 2%. 2% return annually on the investment that has gone in. I mean, he's borrowing at 13, 14, 15%. And, if he has to lease it out at 2%, it's just not making any economic sense. And that's where the government will need to come in. And they will need to support rental housing, because it's a very, very important point. What is Prime Minister saying? He's saying is that I want roof on everybody's head by 2022. He's not necessarily saying that I want you to buy. I mean, rental can become a big part of this. It can contribute hugely to providing shelter. But there has to be thought that has to go behind from the finance ministry, from the government, to say is, how do we promote rental housing? Because in today's economic market, it doesn't make sense for a private developer. Either the government steps in and says, we're going to build these shelters and then rent it out, which is not going to be possible. The only way that it is going to be possible is if the government was to bring out schemes. And the schemes can be is that if you're doing rental housing, we will give you additional FSI. We will give you more physical or financial benefits, Mr. Developer. So that it makes economic sense for you to do that. And I do know there are a number of developers who would be wanting to do this, who want to retain the asset, but at 2% return per annum. They're like saying, Anuj, it doesn't make sense for us to do it. So I do feel is that just like in international markets, rental is a big part. In India, this new generation who's come in is not necessarily proud to say, I own an apartment. They're like, we want to live life king size, and we're happy to rent it out.
Which is the Western philosophy.
Western philosophy. I mean, I spoke with one of the young guys, and he said, it's 5 things, Anuj, a difference between your and my generation when you look at residential. He said, 1, we get married late. Second, we don't have big families. Third is our relatives do not come as often as your relatives come. So we don't need these big apartments, and, we don't need to buy these apartments. Fourth, we are very mobile. Today we are in Bombay, tomorrow we are in Bangalore, day after tomorrow we are in the US. So we don't necessarily want to buy that. Fifth, at 2%, what I am, incurring the cost of rental, it makes no sense for me to go out and buy. So I genuinely feel is that there is a huge opportunity to create rental housing. But the rental housing will get created just like it is in New York or in London if the government really applies themselves and says, what is it that we need to do in terms of additional FSI or fiscal or financial benefits to the developers so that they get prompted to build rental housing.
There's a leadership guru, a life coach who came in. And she was telling me that these days she's counseling a lot of CEOs on how to handle millennials. The other way around. Because a lot of old school CEOs are running around and saying, oh my God, 9 to 6 doesn't mean you punch out at 6, but they have to be explained saying, yes, it means punch out at 6 because that's the Western philosophy. Just because you work from 9 to 9 and 9 to 10, don't expect others to do it and things like that.
I mean, it's hugely different. I mean, I deal with them now in our office. We've got a dramatic shift as the day progresses. The millennium comes in, certainly on the tech side, and you should see their behavior, their dress sense, their thought process is so dramatically different to the generation that we have. I am just in awe of these millenniums and saying is that how do they deal with life? How do they go ahead and how do they work? And it is just so amazing. I mean, they're so confident. They're so mature in their own right at the age where they are in terms of where they want to take their career.
So just coming back to the rental thing, so the National Urban Rental Housing Policy, finalizing that will help resolve some issues, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely correct. It will help, but beyond that as well, Hrishi, it needs to go because it needs to go at the state level. This is national. Ultimately, states will need to adopt it because real estate has never been a federal subject. It has been a state subject. So states will need to come in. For example, Mumbai. There's a huge need for rental housing. Not everybody will be able to afford, even if we talk of affordable housing of 1 crore or 1.25 crores. Not everybody will be able to afford.
Because people are keeping their houses vacant. They're just sitting on it because they don't want to give it out on rent. Lots of cases there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I feel is that there has to be, the state has to take the initiative. Not necessarily just at the national level.
Correct. Okay, your last opportunity for questions because I'm going to take all of them at the end of the show. We're at the 9:51 mark, so we will squeeze in one more section with Anuj Puri, who's chairman of Anarock. So one space your question, space your name to 53650. 53650 is the in-studio SMS line. On Twitter as well as Facebook, you go to the search bar, you type HRISHIKAY, will pop up, tweet out your question along with your name, post in the timeline, inbox along with your name, facebook.com/radio1.mum. There again, post a comment or question on the timeline, inbox along with your name, and we'll bring it up. See you in a bit with Anuj Puri. My name is Hrishikesh.
94.3 Radio 1.
Smash Mouth, Walking on the Sun, 9:59. A last leg of conversation with Anuj Puri, who's chairman at Anarock. Some questions now.
This is Good Morning Mumbai with Hrishikesh.
Ajay Nayak. Hi Hrishikesh, the Anuj Puri. Do you think that improvement of infrastructure aimed at facilitating travel between the outer suburbs and South Mumbai will bring about a more logical price parity across the greater Mumbai area? There are two tweets saying the same thing. So yeah, essentially improvement of infrastructure aimed at facilitating travel between outer suburbs, South Mumbai, will it bring logical price parity across greater Mumbai? Yeah. Answer that.
I think it's a very good question. And, I'll give examples of what has happened in Ahmedabad, Greater Noida, Hyderabad. The moment these three cities put in infrastructure, and they're perhaps the best cities in terms of the infrastructure, you saw the land prices come down. The price of real estate overall came down. That's exactly what is going to happen in Mumbai to the South Mumbai area. The better infrastructure that gets put in, it opens up lots of land parcels. The trouble in Mumbai, why the property is so expensive, is that land is 70% of the cost of the project. If you're able to open lots of land parcels, the property of land price goes down. The moment the property of land price goes down, the overall property real estate value goes down. And that is what is going to happen with this new infrastructure that is going to connect the Panvel area, or where the new airport is coming in, or the Navi Mumbai to the South Mumbai. You're going to start seeing a lot of new land parcels opening up, land prices coming down, as a result of which real estate value coming into some semblance within the South Mumbai region. But equally, what will happen is that the Panvel area or the new Bombay area, there the prices will start to go up, because there is then a parity that gets created between the South Mumbai as well as the new emerging areas through the connectivity.
Okay, this is Vinita. Between built up and super built up area, we all own matchboxes for homes for the price we pay. If rentals mean better lifestyle and better infrastructure with the government stepping in, perhaps that would be the way to go. Also, Mumbai is bursting at its seams. We need corrective action now. You agree with her? Disagree with her?
Completely agree. So the first point is the built up, super built up, chargeable area, all these is history now.
RERA.
Absolutely. You got it right. It is RERA. Under RERA, carpet area has been defined. They've actually given the full definition of carpet area. Anybody who's buying it should be buying it on RERA defined carpet area. So those old days of super built up and all that has now gone away. Second is, clearly I feel is that rental is the way forward. We discussed it earlier during your show. And that where the government can come in and sponsor, there will be prosperity that will get created for the home buyer by taking it on rent. And the developers will then deliver rental housing, which they're not currently doing.
Okay, Preeti Rahul says a big hi. Hello, how are you? And the inevitable question from Hemant. Please ask Anuj about price correction. Will the rates of property and residential property fall? And what is his forecast for 2018? In fact, that was going to be my last question. Right. And I'm also going to bring in a wonderful report that Anarock has done on Thane. So all of that before you go.
Yeah. So Rishi, this question gets asked, very frequently. I feel is two or three things. One, the property prices have got corrected. So between 7 to 17%, I've seen correction that has taken place. Whether it is in a different form, some have corrected the price. Some have started to give free Bs like no GST, no stamp duty, no registration, fit outs. Some of them have brought in a subvention policy. So there are different ways of having brought down the price. But I would say on an average, 7 to 17%, the price has got corrected. At the level where they are today, I do not see any further correction in the price because of two reasons. One, they're really not making any profit margins at this level where they're selling the property. Contrary to what the buyer may feel is that there is still a lot of profit that is sitting in there. I think that profit has got eaten up by the debt that was piled up on the developer's balance sheet, and debt has been expensive.
Yep.
And the second is that last 7 quarters consecutively, the sales has been more than the new launches. It's not that the sales have improved. It's just that the new launches have come down dramatically. The moment that has happened over the last 7 quarters, you've started to see unsold inventory going down. And this is economics, so demand and supply. The moment the demand is more than the supply, you're going to start to see at some stage over the next 2, 3, 4 quarters, property prices or the momentum increasing. The moment momentum increases, there's a fear and greed that comes in of the buyer. Fear that I'm going to lose this property, greed that the price may go up and then I may, lose the premium that I was going to make it. That's where I see the market heading. So the question is that is the property price going to go down from here? I do not think. I think over the next 3 to 4 quarters in many micro markets, you will see, for example, in BKC, certainly you will see property prices going up. In Thane, you will see is that many of these markets has come to the most efficient equilibrium. And there you're going to start to see property prices improve.
Wonderful. Thanks very much for your time. I can't thank you enough. Just all your coordinates before you go, where people can follow you on Twitter, Facebook, the website, as well as Anarock. Yeah.
So Anuj Puri, I can also give you my mobile number. You're very happy to call me up, 98201-57736. My email ID is anuj.puri@anarock.com.
Wonderful. And do follow him on Twitter at the Anuj Puri. He's a great man to follow. Some fascinating insights. And there are wonderful articles in anujpuri.com too. Thank you. And
thank you very much. Cheers. Delighted to be here.
Dr. Dre, California Love.